Oh.
I'm Jen, and I'm unclenching my jaw.
And I'm Jen, and I'm releasing tension in my shoulders. And
This is Talk Dogs with Us. Welcome to Talk Dogs with Us, where a tech and a trainer talk behavior. Today's topic, can you just relax? We're talking relaxation.
Let me stretch out my toesies.
Almost stretched out his toesies right now.
Yeah, maybe on theme, everyone should inhale through your nose, fill up all your lung space, release through your mouth, make sure that your whole body is unclenched, and think about how to think about it.
So, thinking about how to think about it, I teach relaxation pretty often, and as a habit, Elmo and I do it pretty much daily. We do some version of relaxation because for a dog like him, it's important to know how to power down. So how I think about it is when I'm teaching, I can't necessarily tell a dog how to unclench their jaw, but I can tell them to relax their hips. And so I focus on thinking about the body and relaxation when I'm teaching a dog.
I think that's pretty good thinking about how to think about it.
Would you say it's all in the hips?
For a dog, I think that's where it starts.
They definitely don't lie. If the hips are up, we're not relaxing. If the hips are to the side, we might be relaxing. So Jen's dog does this as well. Elmo does it. When I start relaxation, I personally start my folks on a mat. I think it helps a whole lot.
And there's probably a way for me to say this and sound smarter or sound more academic or sound more scientific, but it's yoga for a dog.
Yeah.
It's dog yoga.
Meditation.
Kind of, but when we get a mat and we teach them positions to go into, is that not just what you do in a yoga class? You have a mat and you learn different positions. So
yeah,
the first thing I really focus on when I'm teaching is the body relaxation. And I focus on teaching the dog at least one, if not two or three positions they can go into that look like a sleeping dog.
Yeah, that promote relaxation.
Yeah. I make sure that I'm asking the owners, what does your dog look like when they sleep? Are they curled up? Are they stretched out? Are they on their back? Are they, how do they sleep so that if they're telling me that their dog spreads out, we aren't spending a bunch of time on a position that has their dog curled up or something like that.
Yeah.
I really want to make it custom to the learner at that point so that we're making sure that your dog is getting comfortable, not your dog is performing a trick.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. And I feel like you can delineate by talking to the owner the difference in the positions that are just the dog laying and performing a task versus relaxing.
Yeah.
Like some dogs sploot as a way to relax. Other dogs sploot as a way to lay down comfortably. And they're not necessarily relaxing when they're splooting.
Yeah. We have one client that sploots when she's typically performing.
Yeah.
And it's a very clear way for her to be like, look, I'm doing the thing extra hard. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's not a way for her to be like, I am relaxed and I'm comfy.
Yeah.
It is a way for her to be like, do you see how good I'm doing the thing?
Yeah. And her owners don't find her splooting while she's relaxing at home.
Right? Like she's never snoozing in a sploot.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting one because before I really worked with her, I hadn't really considered that part of it.
Yeah.
And that was something different for me. So it's not just place because I add a little bit to it. I do care about things like staying, maintaining duration in the positions, and maintaining duration in being on the mat at all. So I do use games like Down for the Count from Control Unleashed. And I do use the Karen Overall relaxation protocol.
That's free, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a bunch of versions of it out. You can get all 12 pages of it pretty much anywhere. I can link to that in the show notes as well, the one that I use.
Yeah, it's free, but overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. And so I'll go through it in my class with the owners. But what I also do for them is I'll write custom protocols based on their goals. So maybe you aren't getting your dog to relax so that you can answer the door for Amazon, and that's not really an issue for you. Well, then the relaxation protocol as it's written might fall short for you because there's a big, heavy focus throughout it on not just going to the door, but like there is a heavy focus on going to the door. Just because that is something that so many dog owners struggle with. So, but I've had clients with all different kinds of goals that I've written custom protocols where we'll take the Karen Overall protocol and we'll kind of pick it apart a little bit. And then we'll insert versions of their goals in there to make it easier for them to get their dogs to do it.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to be hopping on one foot, tapping your head while whistling in order for your dog to be good at relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
I never did anything of the sorts.
Yeah. Yeah. I chose not to do it with Elmo because the door thing isn't a big deal for us. So I kind of just bypassed it and taught him relaxation entirely with body relaxation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never did the protocol really with him, but I do have people who really like it and really, it sort of gives them a,
like a task list.
Yeah. Like it gives them a to-do list so they know what to do for their practice, right? Because free form practice can be a little kind of overwhelming for some folks.
Yeah.
I guess if you don't know what the Karen Overall relaxation protocol is, I could explain that a little bit for you. In 1997, Dr. Karen Overall released this protocol that is for relaxation. So it's been around for a long time. And Dr. Karen Overall is a veterinary behaviorist. Currently, she's in Canada. She might have been in the States when she wrote this because I think she's worked both places. It is something like 12 at least pages long. And the first like 4 pages are incredibly academic. They're a little dry.
Oh, yeah. It's very dry to read through.
They're a bit dry.
Yeah.
But very thorough. So if you have questions, it's probably answered in the first like 4 pages. After that, there are task sheets, and that's where I start my students off because I've read the dry parts so I can explain them to them. And where I start my students off is on the task sheets, and there's 15 days worth of tasks, which kind of don't like that they're called days because it's kind of mean. You won't go right from one day to one day, right? It's not like, well, day 1 I did this, and day 2 I did that, and day 3 I did that. You're supposed to, if your dog messes up, start over and repeat that day again, right? So like maybe you went to day 3 without an error, and then on day 3 you had an error. You're supposed to not then move to day 4 until you can get day 3 errorless. There's other ways to do it, but that's one of the most popular ways. So yeah, it's been around for a long time. It's a great tool. And I definitely use it in my toolbox when I'm teaching.
Why do we want to teach relaxation?
So I find value in teaching relaxation over just a stay command because I need the dog to come down from a state of arousal. versus just do a job for me. The way I did it when I was teaching Elmo, he had a hard time figuring out how to turn off at the end of the night. He would sort of like, you could see him struggle with it, where you could tell he wanted to relax. He wanted to soothe his body. He wanted to lay down, but he just couldn't figure out how to do it. And so he just kept fidgeting.
Yeah.
And so I taught him, and I don't recommend anybody else do this, but I taught him to make contact with my body by putting his head on like my leg or my armpit, depending on where we were and how we were sitting. And then I knew when his head was up there, I was going to keep offering him a treat every so often for maintaining a relaxed position. And then when his head would come off of my body, I knew that he was ready to go to sleep. So again, don't recommend anybody else training it that way. That was something that I did for my specific need, because then you will have a dog that chin rests on you unmercifully when they're ready to relax.
It helped that he's a cuddler already.
It did. And so I value it because I took my dog that didn't have an off switch and I gave him one, where I will now, when we do relaxation, I will see him within a few seconds of doing it start to actually like settle in and like move and do little stretches, and like just like a guided meditation, you can kind of see him like stretch out his little toes and move his neck into a less uncomfortable position, and you can see him sort of settle in.
And take that deep breath.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, so like I also have him do that verbally, and I have him do that on a mat. I know people that don't use a mat and are successful. Do you use a mat?
I use a mat.
Okay.
I used a mat in the beginning because with Jude being a corgi, she needed that cue so that she knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she would get too frustrated. So the mat helped in the frustration, and I don't need to use a mat anymore, but I still take the mat anytime we're going to a restaurant or somewhere where we're just going to be hanging out. That's not the house. And it does still remain a cue to her that we're going to be staying here for a minute. You should just relax. And she doesn't always relax on the mat, but the mat is a cue to her that we're going to relax. I did used to have a dog that a paper towel or anything could be the cue. So for Jude, it's a specific mat, but for this other dog, anything that was relatively square or rectangle that you put on the ground that was flat, she thought was her relaxation cue.
Yeah, I take Elmo's mat when we're going places as well. Recently, I've tried bringing it to vets' offices.
Oh, yeah.
He had to be sedated for some x-rays in August, and I had his mat with him. And so when we were waiting for them to like get everything ready, and I didn't do it as a handling mat. Like, I just want to clarify, this wasn't they're going to touch you on this mat. The mat was in the corner. It was sort of like almost behind the bench that I was sitting on, just because that's where there was space for it. And instead of pacing the exam room, he went and he settled himself on the mat. After they did the poke for him, I brought the mat out to where he was and I asked him to relax on the mat. And I think that helped the sedative like whoosh him right off to dreamland.
Yeah.
Because he was in that downshift, down regulate, right? Rest and digest kind of stage because he'd practiced it so much. I also take the relax mat when we go to our dermatologist because that waiting room is busy. And in the waiting room, like in the lobby, I mean, I don't bring out the mat because it's a lot and there's not a lot of space. So I do it verbally. And then when I get in the room, I throw the mat on the ground and he knows.
Yeah.
Oh, I can go take a break here. I can go relax here. And he does a pretty good job.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, she who shall not be named always was like, they need to practice relaxation. We need to do relaxation. And I was like, it just takes so much to teach a dog to relax. But actually, when I started practicing it, it didn't take as much as you would think.
Mm-hmm.
It took way less than any other behavior I've ever trained, basically.
Yeah.
How often do you find that people need to practice relaxing?
When I'm doing a class, I have them practice 3 days a week. We meet twice a week for class. In this one iteration of class that I'm doing. But that practice of just a few minutes, like 3 times a week, they get so much done.
Yeah.
And they're not long. I make sure that they are not long practices. I teach them a little game and I'm like, just run the game one time. Just run the game one time. If you don't have the energy to run the game, grab just a handful of treats and then do it that way. Make it quick and do it often and it will stick in there. Because let's face it, their bodies want to be relaxed.
Right.
Your body wants to be in that state of relaxation. So once you start to figure out that you can do this for yourself, you'll see the dogs, like the light bulb goes off for them.
Yeah. The behaviorist uses it for separation anxiety a lot.
Mm-hmm.
As a cue, once the dog has learned it, we leave the owners pull the mat out and leave it out while they're away. And the dog learns to then relax the same way that when I take the mat out to a restaurant, Jude knows to relax there. The dog realizes, oh, when
this is
mat's
going to be a
out,
long haul. Yeah.
I just relax.
Yep. Yeah. It sort of works easier than you think. And it feels like a big undertaking, but
yeah,
you actually get a lot of mileage out of it.
And it's such a good brain activity for dogs that are very fidgety and move around a lot.
Because you will, in the beginning, get a lot of dogs that are just working because they see it as a task.
Right.
And that's normal. Like anything that is any kind of like working line animal is going to fake it till they make it. But once they start to
make it,
it really clicks in.
Yeah. How soon do you find that they're able to then take the relaxation mat outside of the house and practice elsewhere?
About 2 weeks.
Okay.
That's where I start to push for, we meet virtually for relaxation class. But that's where we'll start to be like, okay, if you were setting up in your living room, let's set up in an office or the kitchen or the porch or somewhere else and start proofing this.
Yeah. And speaking of virtually, I feel like the reason that we started doing virtual is because in person, sometimes our presence is too much, that the dog is too hyped and they're not able to learn it as easily.
Correct. Yeah.
So doing virtual in this case has been like game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really helpful because usually like the way the camera's set up, I can see the dog. I can say, oh, look, he just took a deep breath or he just actually laid his head down and we didn't ask for it.
And when the owners then practice leaving the room, you're there to watch. I can say,
yeah. And then they can hear me on the camera. Like if they're doing the like practice leaving the room, they can hear me say like, oh, he's up, so they know to come back and reset. Or if they know, if I'm quiet, then everything's going well. Because the other thing I want to teach owners to do is kind of recognize those subtler body language shifts.
Yeah.
And to be able to catch their dog when their dog is just relaxing. And so what does it look like? What does it look like when your dog turns off from the work and just sort of powers down? And so I really like teaching people to watch for those extra little things.
Yeah. And even if they're not practicing relaxation formally, even just rewarding in a sense of kind of shaping the behavior, rewarding it when you see it, even if they're going to get hyped after you get the food. If you can get the food out without them knowing and deliver it to them while they're relaxed, I think that does help. It won't help as quickly or as seamlessly as teaching it formally, but it does tend to help.
Yeah. I also want to teach people that you're not reinforcing the absence of something, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of people will go like kind of click to calm rules and go, well, if the dog's not jumping, if the dog's not barking, if the dog's not lunging, if the dog's not, and it's like, I want to flip that for them and have them reinforce for specific things.
Yeah.
Because that's so much easier to teach.
That's a good point.
Because, like, if I tell you, you know, if you're coming to a class of mine and I put in the instructions, do not wear blue, does that mean jeans? You don't know, right? Because it's an absence of something, right? But if I tell you I want you to wear all black, that's an easier goal for you to hit, right? You can say, well, these are black jeans. You didn't say not jeans, you said black. This qualifies, right? You have an easier time distinguishing that.
Yeah.
So I think if we say to the dog, you're going to get a treat for resting your head down versus, well, you're not doing any behaviors, you're just going to get a treat because you're not doing these behaviors. I think it's much easier for them to understand, oh, I should lay my head down, then I'll get another treat.
Because in their mind, they're not thinking about what they're not doing.
Correct.
So, like, even if that's what you think you're reinforcing, that's not what's actually getting reinforced to the dog. It's got to be something else, and you then don't know what it is.
Yeah. And I don't think you lose anything by doing a like, well, you're not committing crimes, you're going to get a treat, but I don't think you gain as much as you do going the other way.
Yeah. And I feel like I started by doing, okay, I'm rewarding you for doing nothing, before I realized, oh, we need to actually reward the behaviors that promote relaxation. And still, like, if we're relaxing at a restaurant and a dog passes, I'll still give her a treat, not because she didn't move, but because if that dog spiked her anxiety, I want to bring her back down with some endorphins. So I'm using it as medicine, not as a reward for not doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah. And the cool thing is with relaxation is you can go back and forth between counter conditioning and then rewarding the relaxed behaviors as much as you want to without much consequence. So, like, if you're practicing relaxing in your front yard and then a bike passes, you can pull out your baby food and counter condition that bike passing. And then as soon as the bike passes, now we're going back to relax. Going back to relaxing.
Yeah.
It's like a self reinforcing
Yeah.
thing.
That I actually meant to say that earlier and then I forgot. It was floating around in my brain.
Yeah, because relaxing feels good.
Yeah.
And so I find that, like,
Feels good, man.
And if relaxing doesn't feel good to you, that's because you're not relaxing. That's because you're being anxious and being still.
I've found with some clients that have, I mean, you know, the patients, but I found that with some patients that have issues with like arousal levels, like maybe they get really explosive, maybe they get really mouthy, maybe they get really fidgety, really agitated, they start play biting on human hands, right? Teaching those dogs can relax. If we're giving them 5 minutes of their day where they're at a 2, that hopefully kind of weighs down the average so that the 10 is now an 8.
And relaxing doesn't tend to end up with the same pent up arousal as a downstay does. So then when those dogs are finished practicing, they're not going back up to a 10.
Yeah.
They're climbing up from a 2.
And that's going to take longer.
Yeah.
Imagine getting rewarded for feeling relief. That's got to feel good.
Yeah.
And getting a snack.
It's self-rewarding in humans too. I've found that when you practice relaxing yourself, it becomes self-rewarding most of the time, not always. Yeah.
You want to move on to tips?
Yeah. What are our top tips?
Top tips.
Top tips.
Tip tops.
Top tips.
I think if you didn't know where to start, you could start with place.
Yep.
Teaching your dog place, teaching them to down, teaching them to settle. Those are all good starters. Check out the protocol. It's out there. It's free. It's everywhere. You can find it.
If you're a trainer that wants to learn how to practice it, practice on your own dogs,
Yeah.
and that will give you most of the information that you need.
Yeah, for sure. Use the practice as part of a brain game or enrichment strategy.
Yep. Have your owners use it that way too. And then that's less enrichment that they have to provide for their dog.
Yeah. I do it at the end of like perceived witching hours.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a witching hour that, lasts 7 to 8, around 7:45, I'm going to be like, bring out that relaxation mat.
Yeah. Why don't you do it at the beginning?
I think I have a better chance of being successful when the dog's a little more tired.
Yeah, when they're coming down.
So I think if we did it right when
Set
they're
'em up
going
for
into
success.
it, everybody would be frustrated.
Yeah.
Because the dog's not mentally in the space to do it.
Yep.
So I prefer movement or mental stimulation at the beginning of witching hours
Yeah.
and then ending with relaxation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got to set them up for success.
And if you're still stumped, you can come to us for teaching.
Yeah.
We are offering virtual lessons on relaxation and other stuff, but you can learn as a trainer, you can learn as an owner, you can learn all about relaxation, everything you wanted to know.
Yeah. All right.
But Jen, I don't know anything about nothing.
Well, you're going to have to figure out how to go at least to the website and check out services.
It's all computer.
Yep. Hopefully you can at least get yourself there. Shoot off an email.
If you're not sure how to do it, just go to the library.
Yeah.
The
library.
kind librarians will help you.
Yeah, library will help you.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
get relaxing.
TalkDogsWithUs.com/services.
/services.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Talk Dogs With Us is an informational podcast and not a substitute for qualified medical advice.
Are you a pet professional or parent looking to learn more and challenge your current assumption about our pets? Then let's go on this journey together at our website, TalkDogsWithUs.com. Give us a bark at Facebook and Instagram at Talk Dogs With Us. You can help keep the conversation going by subscribing to our Patreon, patreon.com/TalkDogsWithUs, or buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/TalkDogsWithUs. Art direction by Alex Oren, theme song and audio engineering by Stephen Rossblock. Check out more from him at StephenRossblock.com. Thanks for listening.
All right. Go forth and relax.
Good night.
We need more of those Crystal Singing Bowl outros.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.